All right. Good evening, everybody. Sorry it took us a little while to get going. Hey, how's it going? Um, Took me a little while to get the stream going this evening because I'm trying something new. Um, Let me know how the volume levels and everything are. I'm actually using a two PC setup right now, so I'm playing KSP on my main computer, my gaming computer. And then I have a second laptop, or a laptop rather, which is handling streaming. So the the main computer that I'm playing KSP on is sending the data over to a laptop, and then it's actually handling the stream and all of the overlays and all that good stuff. All right. In fact, let's try something out here. So let's go ahead and check out the mission log here. Yeah, there we go. So we can still see the mission log, and I can do that from this other computer over here. So we're not having to tab back and forth. We're not having to tab back and forth with the main computer, so it's able to better focus on running KSP and whatnot. Won't have my camera on this evening. One thing with okay, yeah, sounds good. But yeah, I won't have my camera on this evening. I'm still trying to get all that stuff moved over to this other laptop. It's an old laptop I had for years, and I figured, why have it just laying around? I should put it to use. So, trying out this dual stream setup. Hopefully by next stream I'll have the camera working. Really, all I have to do is add in some kind of plug-in or something like that to OBS, and it will let me do the background. So we'll get that in as soon as we can. But like I said, maybe for next time. So I'm gonna look at the log here real quick. Y'all don't have to. It's just a check here to see what we need to do. Let me get my keyboard back up. Well, I guess I could share this. Why not? There we go. Let's copy that. Come down here. Went down one more. Okay, this is episode 11, and today is the 27th. Let's see, future missions. We could go ahead and do another Apollo mission. I don't know that that's the first mission we want to run just yet. We saw how we nearly lost the one mission yesterday, so I think instead let's check where we are with our mission control here. Check our active contracts and kind of decide where we want to go from there. So these are ones that we could take, but I don't really see any that's worth us looking at right now, because we could take the VIPs, but I am wanting to hold off on those for a little while. Just yeah, I think we had plenty of them there for a while. Okay, here we go. New orbital station around Kerbin. Have 2 pilots, 2 scientists. and then eight seats. So we can do that with an Aries XL. So let's go in, and I guess let's open an Aries, since we built that new ingress pad last time. Let's overwrite XL, and let's just come in here, take that away, and we'll do just like last time with the addition there, which actually means we're going to get to use our adjustable lunch. In fact, let's see. Make sure to get on the right side here. That would definitely help. Okay. And let's make sure to unlock that one. I had it locked, and I think that actually hurt us last time. We need to come up just a bit. There we go. So yeah, let's see, we got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so we got 10 seats here, so we should be good to go on that. Crew, let's see. I guess we'll take Jib. Let's see, we need 2 pilots and 2 scientists. Take Jib and Gimby, and then Leiden and Shotgun. So let me make a note of that over here. And this will be Aries 14X. Add this to the log here. So that will become 14X. Mission. New Kerbal Space Station mission, and I don't think we're actually going to go to. I don't think we'll go to the old space station, although we could. Gimby is a pilot. Okay. And we have Leiden. Oh, don't know how to type. Leiden and Shotgun. Okay, and I guess we could send. Let's send an engineer with them also. We'll send Jack, so he can get a stripe and he'll be ready to go. Delete that. Delete that. Delete that. Delete that. And this will be the 21st. 21st orbital crude mission. So we might see if we can go to the station, and then from there we can. It's not showing the two lander cans for some reason. Does it show it now? Interesting that it does not. Well, I was gonna say we could show the pad or the this section off, but I guess not. Let's check our staging. Oh, that looks good. Save that. Okay. good for that. Swap back over here where I can see chat now. All right. So let's go ahead and roll this out. All right, so let's aim camera over here. See, we made this crew tower so Kerbals can get in down there, ride the elevator up, and then get out here. Once we open the safety doors, and then use the trim pieces out here to fit it to the capsule, and see we can trim this up some if we need to. You can trim it down. In fact, I think I need to turn that reactivity down some. You know, you can get it. Let's try and get it to 3. There we go. So then we'll have an engineer be the pad rat, and he can come out and strut that. That way it doesn't wobble or anything while Kerbals walk over it. They can get in, and then once that's done, we can go ahead and close the doors here. Yeah, close enough. Alright, and now we can grab this one. Let's turn that traverse rate down. Should have done that last time. So let's go ahead and retract the crew arm here. Pull it back away from the rocket. And go ahead and lock it into place. And then we can just reset the camera there. All right, let's find the station here. Go ahead and target it. I wasn't planning on this being a mission to the existing space station, but I guess we could go ahead and take the parts we need to off of it, and then expand from it. So we're launching at, I'll just write this down real quick. Year 3, day 123. Oh, we did not do our time warp last time, it looks like, because our last launch was at day 119. So we need to go to at least day 126. So we'll just say they were running some tests here on the pad. I'll go ahead and warp around until the station is at a good location for launch. Oh, and we missed it again. Got a little overzealous. All right. Yeah, we'll say that the crew, you know, we got them off the pad and then we brought them back. So they're good to go now. So we'll be launching day 131 at looks like 38:30. All right. T-minus 3, 2, 1, ignition. All right, and we have liftoff. Go ahead and have Omega do these little kick maneuvers here. One thing I am noticing, the audio is the least little bit delayed, because I'm sending the audio to the streaming computer, and then then to my headphones. So it does seem, because I'm looking at it on the gaming computer, but then hearing it from the streaming computer. So to me, there's a little bit of a delay. Hopefully there's none for y'all. Go ahead and open up our orbital information here. Yeah, we can begin slowly making that gravity turn, but I would prefer to wait till after 15 kilometers, so we don't have the flip like we did last episode. That was not great. Vehicle pitching down range. All readouts still looking good. We have jettison of the launch escape system, as the vehicle is now too high and too fast for it to be of any use. Go ahead and turn the lights on here for them. The sound difference is quite interesting. I might have to use my headphones. Well, I don't know how that would, I guess that would constitute then me running my headphones with the gaming PC, and then for the audio being fed into the stream, I guess I'll have to eventually get a dedicated microphone, which is fine. I probably need to anyway, but just have to add it to the list. Look at there, separation of 10.6 kilometers. If we can get that down any, let's actually face retro and see. I love when we get these intersections like this. Like if we time it just right for the station coming over, and it just they line up so well. Last time though we had I don't know about last time, but last time we sent something up to the station, it had a very similar rendezvous, but that time actually it was only like 4.5 kilometers or so difference. So we got, looks like 9.2 here. All right. Slowly bring this in. That is super cool though, that we can launch from the KSC and immediately get a target intersection and get a rendezvous with the station. Getting pretty good about that. Like I said, last time it was under 4 kilometers. This time it was right around 10. But still, being able to launch to orbit and then get within get within 10 kilometers is something indeed. And I suspect, let's go out here to this screen. Oh, we didn't even put our antenna out. But we have completed the station contract. So that's good to see. Let's turn our RCS on here and get ourselves flipped around and point toward our target. And give just a quick little burn there. And we'll go ahead and walk the station in here a bit. So this will be an added bonus, we'll get to, since we have those scientists on here again, we can start doing research again and getting some more science in that regard. And then, we can also salvage what we wanted to from the station, and then the rest can be let go. All right. And begin braking slowly. Let's swap over here. Oh yeah, that's right. We took that coupler off. So for right now, we'll have to connect on that module. It's no big deal. There we go. Because we can, once we dock, we can send up a cargo resupply with one of those better docking ports, one of the regular size that we've been wanting to implement. So we'll go ahead and bring the station in a little closer before we kill our velocity. Good. Oop, wrong way. I fat fingered the keys as usual. All right. Slowly bring in the station again. The audio is really throwing me off. It's weird, like, doing a burn like that and then hearing it like a second and a half later. It's like, what the heck? And let's go ahead and stop here, chat, and get a screenshot. That does look pretty cool. Go ahead and make sure we've got the nose of the bird pointed just right. Go ahead and move in a little ways. Go ahead and start killing some of this velocity off. Oh, not too much of it though. I do think we'll roll us to a heads-up position here. Just put finish walking ourselves in here. All right. Yeah, it is. There's nothing. Oh, there we go. Let's say there's nothing docked to that docking port, is there? The only thing I hate about getting rid of this section is that we won't have our solar panels. But I think once we send that cargo resupply up, we'll go ahead and attach something over here and just pull that section away, because we do want to save this because it's still got a good bit of data in it that we can get a lot of info from. Let's transfer bleeding. Oh, where'd she go? I hate when you go to transfer them sometimes, like the least little click will just like send them wherever. Alright, now you can go ahead and begin researching. And in fact, we can also level up the crew and go ahead and level Jack up there. Go ahead and shut that engine down. That would be a good thing to do. All right. So let me update the log here. Status at Space Station Endurance. Orbit is Space Station Endurance orbit. All right. So, like I said, this hadn't been planned as a station mission, but those radiators are quite warm after we so we don't have any thermal protection or anything on the capsule, so coming up, it does get a little spicy. And yeah, it is definitely kind of warm. So yeah, we do have to figure out what we want to do here. Like I said, I really want to get rid of these two sections and then just save the research module here. But then we don't have any solar panel arrays here, so we could always build one with an engineer. In fact, where is Jack? Go ahead and transfer him to there. Let's drop a quick save just in case the Kraken were to hit us. Go ahead and get Jack on an EVA here. If we can take some of these parts off of here, we can put the array on the station here itself. Although I guess that's about as far as we can reach, it looks like. So I'm gonna have to swap back over to the station. Go ahead and retract these. Go ahead and retract that just in case. Swap back over to Jack. Hey, Zeke Euban, how's it going? Zeke Euban, sorry about that. So this is kind of the remnants of an old station we had. I'm wanting to hold on to our laboratory module here because it's still got like 300 pieces of data in it. So we want to save it either for a new station or just keep in orbit. And I would like to retire these old Gemini-derived sections. Yeah, sort of. These two early modules here were based on Gemini, kind of like a manned orbiting laboratory setup, if you will. But they've kind of not lived out their usefulness, but they're, we can now make a lot prettier sections. So I'm trying to see what we can do here as far as saving at least one of these solar arrays. Yeah, the manned orbiting laboratory was super interesting, and that's kind of, like I said, it's kind of what we went for with these early station modules. But now that we've got some more advanced stuff unlocked, we're wanting to expand there and see what we can come up with. So I'm just trying to take these pieces off here where we can steal this girder segment. Hopefully that should do to part attachments. So that might be that radiator. Yeah, there we go. Although, let's add that back to there. Actually, let's just put it on there for now, and then put that on there. So I know we can grab it, and then we're actually gonna have to transfer him back here. We could have flown him over, but any ISS trust section. Yeah, we built that. We actually sent it up in one mission. It was the center section here and the two outer sections. We launched them all together, and then this center section. Let me aim camera. So this whole center section here is actually kind of a standalone. Like, it's got a probe core, it's got batteries and everything. So once we got near the station, the upper stage that had launched us was out of fuel. So we got this part off, attached to its side trusses, and actually flew it the last couple hundred meters to the station. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, I like the real one. And I always rush with stations, and that's why the first one always ends up being like kind of a hodgepodge of parts, because building stations in KSP is like my favorite. And so I always kind of fast track to it. Only thing about trying to place stuff when on EVA, it's can definitely be a pain. There we go. Okay. Thanks, KSP pop-up. And I guess when we do use the builder out here, it does make sure that everything is properly aligned. So that's pretty neat. So get that one on there. This one. Just like Lego. Yeah, oh yeah, the Canadarm would make it a lot easier. I did have a playthrough just on my own one time, where I didn't stream it or anything, but I made a. Oh, here they are. I actually made a stock cannon arm, and it was pretty cool. It was just so unwieldy to use. It was quite challenging. It had a haptic too. Yeah. In my individual games, like if I'm just playing, I do use mods every now and again. But for this series, I've decided to go completely stock. We are looking at maybe doing some KRPC later. Those are crooked. Yeah, so we are looking at some KRPC later down the road. But for the time being, I want to keep it stock. I am for those that have just joined us this evening, I am an aerospace engineer in real life, and so I do like using KSP, especially in its stock form, to kind of teach people about space travel and it's career mode. Just teach people about space travel and how rockets and things like that work. And then just also a love for this game because it's I've played it for years, and I think it's a really good teaching tool, and also really gets people excited about space travel. Arrow or yeah, so I'm an Arrow. Yeah, at my university you could either go Arrow or Astro, and I definitely chose to go Arrow, and yep, enjoy every minute of it. So, as one of my old professors used to say to the Astro guys, he would always say, well, y'all can study your rockets or whatever, but you have to get through my atmosphere first. Yeah, this is career mode, so we're actually having to unlock, every part and all that good stuff. Save up money. We also here I can show you really quickly. We won't dive into it a whole lot, but here's our mission log. So we do have a career mode handbook that we play from. It's kind of similar to EJSA's just career mode like rules, and this is just the set of rules we play by. And it's basic stuff like once we get ships built, we have to actually like go out and recover like our capsules and everything. Crews can only stay in orbit or like on the Mun for so long. Kind of some realistic things to kind of add a little bit of gameplay in, and just what would you call it? Just add that extra layer of granularity to the game. Like, for example, there's not like Kerbals don't eat food. They don't have cargo like food supplies that have to come up. But we still model that, like with the station here, for example, we have to send up supplies every so often, things like that. And so it just gives the game a little bit more granularity while also keeping it stock. Because like I said, I do like using it kind of as a teaching tool. And so with that, I feel like, anybody could download the game and pick it up and, recreate what we're doing here. So I always thought that was really cool, especially how EJ does it. And others like Rocket Guy, I recommend everybody watch both of them. They're really good. But yeah, like I said, the career mode here, it is completely stock. We're slowly unlocking parts and whatnot. Stick that on there. Guess we can rob that one off because it's soon gonna not be with us anymore. So, zoom in here. Okay. Get those two. Oh, had it right the first time. These Atmo is rough. First 120 seconds. Yeah, yeah, space is cool, and actually, to be honest, we always gave the Astros crap about it, but really and truthfully, there was only there was a bunch of kind of specialty classes you could take, but there were really only 4 classes, like 4 core classes that separated Aero and Astro. Instead of aircraft performance, they took spacecraft performance, things of that nature. But I actually did take a lot of the Astro classes also. College took me a little more time, so I said, well, while I'm already here, I might as well make use of the time. So I actually ended up taking a lot of theirs. Like, I really enjoyed orbital mechanics. That class, it was tough, but it was really well worth it in the end. Yeah, luckily we didn't have to take normal thermo. We took aerothermo. So it wasn't as well. I don't know if you could say it wasn't as bad, because it's still thermodynamics. In fact, I guess it's thermodynamics with a few extra steps. But yeah, it was interesting. And I actually didn't find it to be all that bad. And orbital, it was cool. Like, I was interested in it. Now, the one that I didn't do well in at all was I guess it was like advanced orbital mechanics, I think. The whole class, and it was taught by a PhD student that wrote his whole thesis on this stuff, but it was all quaternions. And to this day, I still don't know that I understand what a quaternion is at all. It was not fun. Yeah, so for whatever reason, I could not click on that docking port. Guess we'll just steal this one from up there. I can't reach that far back. I can't reach those either. Let's go in here to the station. But yeah, we here in our career mode, we do have some different rules we play by. So right now we're in mission mode, and in mission mode, it's just like real life. If something happens, if the Kerbals die or something like that, then that's it. They're gone. We have 2 additional modes, I guess, if you will. There is engineering mode, and then there's simulation mode. So in engineering, we use the cheat system to pay 20,000 Kerbucks a week. And in engineering, we can test stuff out. You can put a craft together or something, roll it out to the pad, and test individual systems. And then Simulation mode, it's similar, except we can do whole missions. And it costs, I think, 5,000 per regime. So 5,000 for aircraft, 5,000 for spacecraft. But similar principle. That money is kind of our way of denoting, all right, a flight sim had to be made for this thing. So, we're having to pay the engineers and the programmers to design it, keep it running, etc., etc. So, that's how we're doing that. And like I said, once we run something like in simulation mode, if it blows up and kills everybody or whatever, we can revert. But when we're in mission mode, when we're actually running a live mission, there's no reverting, no none of that stuff. Let's transfer him back here again. Okay. Let's see. Same as how letters infiltrate math in high school. Yeah. I always joke with people that, I think I was staring out the window like one day in 5th grade and they went over something, and ever since then I graduated with my degree in aerospace engineering, and everybody's like, oh, you're so good at math. But I'm pretty sure you could give me a high school math test right now and said, all right, your life depends on it. You got to pass. I don't know that it's happening. It was quite the struggle. So my wife's actually a teacher, and I spoke, I guess it was 2 years ago, to one of her coworkers' classes. It was a 5th grade science class, and they were all so interested in, they were having Space Week that week. And the teacher asked if I could come in and talk to them, because everybody was super interested in space and had like a bunch of interesting questions. But the teacher's like, beyond what's in the book, I don't really know what to tell them on most of these. So I went, and they asked so many good questions. But at the end, a couple of the students asked, like, what can I do to get into aerospace? Like, what do I need to do? And I was like, well, number one, pay attention to math class. There's going to be that one day that I apparently missed or was daydreaming or something. But they're going to give you like the keys to it. And if you can pay attention in math class and really buckle down, then you'll do good. And for whatever reason, all throughout college, some of the problems we would work, especially in some of our aerospace classes, and like Cal 3 and stuff like that, Cal 4, like some of the stuff you're doing is like, it can be 3 or 4 pages long. So they always show you like, oh, here's the shortcut for how to do it. And I don't know if it's just like my ADHD brain, the way it's wired, or what, but I could never work a problem the way they showed me, like the easy way. I always had to work it the hard way. It's like I could try working it the easy way, but then they were like, oh, in this instance, it's like you can use this shortcut unless this and that, and then you have to use this one unless this one's available, and then you can try it. And I was like, I'll just work it the hard way, so I make sure I get it right. Like, I don't know if that was just a me thing, or it probably was, but it was just like, no thanks, I'll do it the hard way. Yeah, the 7 semesters of calculus. It seemed like. Are you an Aero or Astro, Z? Astro, one of the one of the uppity kids. That's what we always called them. Like I said, we always gave each other heck. But my some of my best friends out of college were Astros, so we don't hold it against y'all too much. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's funny, like the Arrows and Astros, like, you know, we were always kind of in a competition, but then oddly enough, like once we got out, I think like most of the Arrows ended up with Astro jobs, and most of the Astros ended up with Arrow jobs. It just kind of, you know, I guess it was what was available, or, you know, whoever gave you the best offer, but it just seemed odd, you know, that like, you know, all right, we've been specializing in this, and then, you know, in the end, it was like, well, that's didn't matter anyway. You know, who ends at the top? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's what she said, indeed. But yeah, like I said, and you know, the more I think about it, it is kind of odd that, you know, we didn't, like, you know, obviously some of the Arrows went Arrow and some of the Astros went Astro, but it seems like for the big majority, we kind of went opposite of that. Let's pull all this junk out away from the station. And I guess for now, let's just get ourselves situated here. Make sure nobody's in these. Okay, cool. And then we'll go ahead and undock. And of course it puts us in control of the craft with nobody on it, because that makes sense. Alright. Float away here just a little bit. And then we can point. Glad I said control from here. Depends what department Inside Boy troubles. Yeah. Yeah, I've never been one to badmouth more space or more aircraft, but yeah, it's not a good look. We'll leave it at that. Not a good look. We don't have a pilot on board. Oh, come on, guys. I guess I should have moved pilot over. I thought I had. Oh well. But yeah, I was really trying to, like, you know, hold out hope. Well, maybe, you know, maybe they'll figure out what's wrong, but good lord. Like, and, you know, to be honest, like, you know, I know everybody's jumping on the bandwagon, but like, I haven't been that big on Boeing for years, just for the fact that, and this really stems from the aircraft side of the house. You know, you had so many aerospace companies in the U.S. You had Douglas, you had North American, you had, Republic. You had a wide variety of aircraft manufacturers. And, over the last 30, 40 years, Boeing's just bought them all out. And, pretty similar with Astro as well. They for years have been buying up, companies and consolidating and everything. And, it just goes to show with the Starliner issues, with those thrusters, Rocket Guy had found the other day some papers going back, because those thrusters that are having the issues are shuttle derived. And there's papers all the way back to like the early 90s where they had found that issue with the shuttle and had come up with like in-house solutions for, how to alleviate that overheating issue from happening. But, since Boeing bought out those companies, and, to some extent, they did some of the work. But, Boeing's bad about, buying up a company, and everybody that works there, they just end up canning, and then nobody knows what they're doing and how to do it. Like NASA published that paper the other day about SLS, and it basically just said like, hey, we're having we're having delays for SLS because all these parts are out of spec. But the parts are out of spec because nobody at Boeing is qualified in making parts like this. And so they literally don't have the experience. And it's like, well, that's embarrassing because, we used to have that. But Boeing bought out whatever company was making those parts. And I guess with, with the space shuttle external fuel tanks and now SLS, that's at Michoud in Louisiana. So that would have been Martin Marietta. They're the company that made the space shuttle external tanks, and now they're working on some different architecture for SLS. So yeah, Boeing bought up. I don't know if they bought Martin Marietta directly, or if Martin Marietta was bought up and then Boeing acquired whatever company they had. Wait for the GSC bill. Yeah, that was the craziest thing. Like, out of all the, that whole study that NASA put together, it was like, all right, here's the issue, here's what we're seeing, but we don't recommend anything happen to Boeing. They're just, it's inexperience, so we'll just chalk it up to that, and we'll fix it later. But Boeing shouldn't be, they shouldn't be punished financially. It's like, all right, well, they bought up all these companies that had specialty in doing stuff like this, fired all the people, and made it where they could bring in cheaper labor and pocket more of the money. They don't know how to do it now, and they're not going to get in trouble for it. So why would Boeing change anything? Like, if you're doing a bad job and your boss says, hey, this work you're doing sucks, but I'm not going to do anything about it, does that incentivize you to start all of a sudden making better parts? No, you're just going to be like, well, I'm getting paid either way, so I'll just keep half-assing everything and ask for more money. which is, funnily enough, what Boeing is doing. They're saying, oh, it's got setbacks. It's got setbacks. We're gonna need another like $1.2 billion if that's okay. So not only did your boss come to you and say, hey, these parts you've been making suck because you're not trained right. Then you said, yeah, I know. Can I get some more money to work some overtime to keep trying these parts out? And they said, yeah, okay. And then you're still just half-assing them and not trying. Like, there's no consequences. So, of course they're not going to have an issue with it. Yeah, that 400 million. Now, I don't think it was for just the Michoud issues. But I think Boeing was asking for like 1.2 billion for like all of their contracts for SLS. So yeah, they're not only saying, yeah, we're gonna be late on that. They're also saying, also we're gonna need some more money. That's for the launch tower. Yeah, I mean, I could see paying extra for a new launch tower, but all these other overruns and reworks and everything that's being brought together, and them asking more money. I'd have to check and see what they asked for extra at Michoud, because I know they said, hey, we're gonna be like a year or two later than we said, and we've already delayed it once. But then they also ask for more money. So bad situation all around. And it's not that I want to see Boeing do bad. I want to see them do good. But they're really going to have to turn that ship around. All right, so let's go ahead and drop down one more quick save. We will have to adjust our orbit here because we did get bumped around a little bit there. Quick save it, and this station, it's a lot more secure now. We're not wobbling around and whatnot. But go ahead and go back to the Space Center. But yeah, the luckily with the contract that NASA signed with Boeing and SpaceX, we had multiple articles being designed. So, we do have the Dragon that can go rescue them this coming spring. So at least they're not just stranded up there forever, or have to ride down on a Soyuz. So that's good. And that's one thing I've heard people talk about too is, when they wrote the commercial crew contract like years ago, they were looking at it like, oh, well, we're sure SpaceX is going to screw up because they're new and they'll be being rescued by Boeing. And now here it is, Boeing's hunk of shit smoking and got rod knock and it's dead on the side of the road, and a SpaceX capsule to come pick up the astronauts. So I think, at least from the Aero side, the biggest thing to me, the biggest thing that stood out was, they had thrusters that blew out on the first test mission. And nobody thought like, hey, we should probably look into this before we launch people on it. And they're just like, oh no, it should be fine. I think I had read somewhere the other day they had like 7 blowouts on the first mission. And it's like, all right, 7 of your, what is it, like 28 or 30 thruster blocks? Like, nearly 25% of them had blowouts. And you're just like, oh yeah, it's fine. Should be no big deal. Like, what? You'd think somebody would have at least like, hey, let's look into it at least. Nah, just it should be fine. Maybe it won't happen next time if we cross our fingers and hope really hard. Like, what on earth? Here we go, Pilgrim 1. That's a fun part of the commercial break. Yeah, like I said, at least we don't have to pay for Soyuz missions and bring them back on a Soyuz. That would be terrible. But yeah, it's quite the conundrum. And like I said, despite my dislike of Boeing, because they're a good company, and their stuff, 1950s and 60s back, everything 747 and back, amazing work. But from the 80s until today, all they've been worried about is just buying up little aerospace companies and just being a monopoly basically. And now they've bought up all the little companies and hired all the people that had those special niche little jobs that, them and two other people in the whole world knew how to do. Well, now you fired them 30 years ago and they had to find different jobs and have retired by now, so that they didn't teach anybody this stuff or pass it on. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, we need to know how to do that. Who knew how to do that? Oh yeah, we fired them 30 years ago. This ain't good. No new particularly interesting tickets here. Let's fast forward a little bit. A new station. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get that one because just one of our normal missions covers that much. Fast forward a little more. Yeah, not interested in any of those. Same ones. So let's actually one more time. We'll go for a few days here. Check mission control. Space around the Mun, that's a good one. Surface of Minmus, that's a good one. Let's go ahead and get space around the Mun. We're not really running a whole lot of missions here, like last episode and so far this episode. But we're wanting to focus. I want to be using our Apollo architecture. So at the beginning of this playthrough, I said, it's not going to be all historical rockets. We're gonna make our own designs. We might do a few historic rockets just because, I'm also a history buff, so it comes up pretty often. But so far we've had an Atlas Centaur. We've had the Titan booster for Gemini. We have had Omega. Omega is an in-house design. The Delta 3 is cool. If I could do the let's see, was it Delta 2 or Delta 3 that had like that teal bluish color? If I could do that, I definitely would. Let's take a look at our rockets here. So we've got Atlas Centaur, including our Atlas lower stage has the stage and a half capabilities. So that's pretty cool to see. Yeah, I like that. I designed that one time in like an offline playthrough I had, and I've used it ever since. So there's that one. here's our Titan booster. Like I said, Omega is our own design, and actually that's the older version. I guess the newest version would be in our Ares rocket. Yeah, yeah, they ended up not being needed, so so this is our Ares capsule up here on an Omega rocket. So one thing we did build into this Omega, yeah, it is just a Titan 1. Once we get a Titan 2 or Titan 3, we can always add those SRBs in there. They just have to be some of the ones that can gimbal. So on the Ares here, we have these 6 decouplers on the side. The reason for that, let me share the mission log here. Reasoning for that being, here we go, section 5 in the handbook, spacecraft serialization. So, as you're well aware, Z, whenever NASA or somebody decides they want to launch something, they don't just make a completely new rocket for it, just for one mission and then say, all right, we're done with that design and throw it away. So in our career mode here, we have to, you can design a new rocket, if you would like to, say, all right, we're making a Delta 3. That can be a clean slate design, and you can fly it once. After that mission, you have to pay 10,000 Kerbucks for that mission as kind of like research and development fee on top of whatever the rocket costs. Launch it that first time, and then if everything worked out, which you can run it in simulation mode, but you have to do at least one live mission mode launch. And then if you decide, this is a design that we want to stick with, then you pay 20,000 Kerbucks for to serialize it, or to tool the rocket, basically. You should have seen ULA's Vulcan mascot. It's Velcroed on us. Oh, that's really cool. So yeah, we have to pay for it, as a tooling fee. And then we also have to pay for variants, which I think we want to overhaul how much we have to pay for variants. Because right now it's 25,000 versus 30,000, so you might as well make a new rocket at that point. So we are going to adjust that, and I have it in mind to look at that pretty soon. But you also have to pay for new fairing designs. So, you're not just making a whole new fairing design each time. Now it does cost less, and we'll also probably knock that down some also. But like I said, the designs have to be serialized. Just like I said, kind of play into KSP. That's one thing that's so great about the game is, everything's kind of left open. So you can decide, all right, well, how strict do we want to be on this, or what level of detail do we want to go with here? So you can have, in fact, with the Atlas Centaur, with the same updated version, we have 2 or 3 different fairing designs we can go with. If it's just a small, if it's just a small geosat, then we can go with the small fairing. But if it's something that's light but kind of wide, we can go with the bigger one. Things of that nature. So that's one thing we built into the core of the Omega stage here. Is it's got these decouplers, and they're just turned off for now. So it just rides up in theory, rockets like Atlas V, ones you can put SRBs on, the mounts and everything for them are on there, whether they have them or not. So, if we end up launching like a new station part or something like that, and it's extra heavy, we need a little bit more performance, then we can add a couple thumpers to it. You can either add 2, or if you for whatever reason want to put them like that, you could. You can run 4, you can run 6, and it gives you that kind of modularity to it, and allows you to really customize a mega to fit whatever mission profile you need, within its reason. And then the rocket we've been working on most recently, because we don't have, and so kind of roundabout what I was getting to, is I said we weren't going to do like all historic rockets. And then we've only built historic rockets besides a mega. And I said, well, we're going to call our MUN architecture something different. Like, we'll name it, instead of Apollo, we'll name it like Ares or something like that. But the more I got to thinking about it, it's like, nope, if we're going to the MUN, it's got to be Apollo. So, even though we don't have the Saturn V parts unlocked yet, we went ahead and made ourselves a Saturn 1B, and the tanks down here actually are wrapped around an empty tank in the center. Let's see if I can zoom into the engine section here. So funnily enough, the swivels and the Reliance look the part of H1 engines, because they did look a little different. The Saturn 1B had 8 engines, but sorry, I had to restart the music there. They had 8 engines, but these 4 center engines were just fixed. They didn't swivel. And then the 4 outer engines could swivel. So we were down on thrust to weight. So we did take a cow controller and overclock those center Reliance. But they look the part. And I did stretch this lower section just to give our S4B a little bit more performance. I still can't decide. I think once we actually kind of decorate here, then it'll look better. This lower section does look a little long, but I wanted to rebuild the Saturn 1B in KSP because it's the most KSP real life rocket ever. They were like, hey, we got a bunch of this shit laying around, like, from these rockets we didn't launch. What should we do with them? Like, we just need to scrap them? Like, no, we'll make a first stage out of them. Just weld a whole bunch of them around this. Let's see. I think it was. I always get this confused. I think it was redstone tanks around a center Jupiter tank, or it may have been a Jupiter tank around a redstone, but I'm pretty sure it was 8 redstones around a Jupiter. But in any case, like I said, it's the most real life Kerbal rocket, because they were just like, yeah, we got a bunch of these parts laying around. Weld them together. They'll do good. And for what it was worth, it did do good. The Saturn 1B had no failures, and performed, did its job. Showed up, did its job. Wouldn't explain further, and then just left. So one thing we do need to update from last time, we did not have the J2 unlocked yet, but we do now. So before we had been using a skipper, which is 500 kilonewtons. Oh, the J2 is only 240. So let's just look at it, because it does look the part. It is the correct engine. I do hate that we're losing some performance there, though. I'll have to edit this fairing. Yeah, we are getting a little bit taller there. Yeah, Z, I actually, thanks to my job, right out of college, they had us move to Washington, D.C., and I hated it. If you couldn't tell from the accent, I am from the deep south, and yeah, DC might as well be a different planet. But I had actually originally interviewed for the Cape Canaveral area. They just weren't quite set up down here yet, and so I had to go up north for a while. But back at the beginning of this year, they said, all right, we're set up down that way, and everything. So if you would like to move down there, you are more than welcome. So back in July, no, not a DC guy at all. We were there for a year and hated every minute of it. Like, it was cool to go see some of the tourist attractions and whatnot, but there's just so many people. Like, the whole state of Mississippi has like 3 million residents, and then going to a city, like one city that has like 8 to 10 million people at any time, was just, yeah, it was not fun. But so they said, all right, you can relocate. So back in July, my wife and I moved down to the Cape Canaveral area. So yeah, we went to the Kennedy Space Center. Let's see. I guess late July. Yeah, I like going down to Stennis. It used to be a lot cooler when I was a kid. The museum and all actually used to be like on the base, like at Stennis. But for whatever reason, they discontinued that. Oh. And I guess we technically need to delete this file, because we need to be pulling from this one. Now we need to load. This is SA202. Not 2012, 202. And Motherlander 2. Is this the updated lander? It is not. So we need to make sure to shit can that. Oh, and some of our stickers did not get carried over, I noticed on our last mission. Yeah, Stennis used to be a lot cooler. The museum was actually like at Stennis, like on the base, and it was really cool. They had a lot of cool attractions. I've heard differing stories. I think the end. I think the end decision for it was after 9/11. They said, well, we don't need people on these bases. So apparently even since then they had been trying to move people off of going out there. But like I said, I remember as a kid going to Stennis and, you know, going to the museum, and it was like, now they have the Discovery Center, and it's cool. It's you know, I won't say, oh, you know, it's terrible. Like, you know, it's got some cool stuff. But when the museum was actually on base, it's I don't know. It seemed like the attractions and everything were set up a lot nicer. Yeah. So like I said, I'm from Mississippi. Work had me move to DC for a year, and then we got to relocate down here. So now we live Cape Canaveral area. Oh, North Dakota. Yeah, we've actually got some family that lives in North Dakota, and I have told them many times that they can keep it. One thing my wife and I found out, like, you know, the cold and everything, like, but you know, I've been out to Colorado and stuff like that, you know, so it wasn't too big of a jump, but like, I'm not made for a ton of cold weather. Like, you know, it's fun to be in it for a little while, but then it's like, all right, this is getting old. Actually, I do want to stage those separately. Second stage, let's see. We like the J2. I can use our separators there. Okay, save that. Now let's open. Where is it at? Here we go, MTA2. Merge that in. Yeah, make sure we are routed correctly here. There we go. Zoom in here. Yep, that's updated. We do have probe control this time. So, let's see. Most of the visitor centers more like Disneyland. Yeah, that's one thing my wife and I were talking about here a while back. I don't know if it's like just growing up, you know, maybe I'm seeing the differences now when I didn't before or what, but like my favorite museum is the Naval Aviation Museum, or the National Naval Aviation Museum at Pensacola, Florida. You know, it's very history driven. You know, there's a lot of artifacts there, you know, there's a lot of aircraft to look at, but like, you know, if you stand there and read the plaques and everything, you can really learn a lot of in-depth information. Like I said, I'm a history buff. Like, I actually minored in history. Did help me keep my GPA up, but you know, I love history, and you know, it's still, every time I go there, I learn something new that I didn't know before, and it's just like so, you know, information driven. But then a lot of the museums, because like, you know, my wife kind of likes you know, history and science and stuff too, and so when we're on vacation and stuff, we go to a lot of museums, and I don't know if I'm just noticing it more now or what, but so many museums and stuff like that are now geared toward kids, which, like, yes, you know, it's, you know, it's good to get them interested in science and in history, and, you know, kind of what do you say, promote that. But it just seems like there aren't a lot of museums that are just like, you know, come here and adults will also learn something, you know. Check out the basement museum in Titusville. Ask for Marty. Okay, yeah, we'll have to check it out. The best aerospace museum is JSC, Johnson Space Center. Yeah, I haven't been there quite yet. Like I said, I've been to Stennis. Heck, I've probably been to Stennis like 8 or 9 times at least. And now I've been to Kennedy twice. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know if that's a me thing or what, but I've noticed, like, we went to a couple museums when we were on vacation in North Carolina here a while back, and like all, like, even the Wright Brothers Museum, like at Kitty Hawk, like, they had a few cool artifacts and things to look at, but then like everything else was like kid driven, like little kid driven. And like I said, it's good to get them interested, but I was going there as an aero and as an aviation history buff, and however else you want to look at it. And it was just like, yeah, okay, here's a thing or two to look at, and then that's it. Like, it was interesting, especially to stand where they stood and where they flew. It's Hidden Gem. Lots of space hardware. Oh, nice. Yeah, we'll have to check it out. I've also been wanting to check out the it's actually like right across from the KSC. It's the something Warbird Museum. I'm looking forward to checking that one out. We just haven't had the time quite yet. But yeah, it I don't know, Kitty Hawk was like I said, just real kid oriented, I guess, kid friendly. And for what it is, the museum wasn't that big either. Like, yeah, you could walk the grounds, like, where they had their shop, and where they did like the first flight, stuff like that. But beyond that, it looked kind of like just a rest stop, honestly, like the visitor center and museum. I was expecting there to be a ton of stuff there. Probably the coolest thing about Kitty Hawk is there's actually an active runway, like just the other side of a patch of trees. And apparently, I was looking into it, you can actually get your pilot's license, because there's a few little businesses there that you can get your license from. But you can actually get your pilot's license at the Kitty Hawk airport. So, your first solo, and then actually getting your pilot's license can be the same place the Wright brothers first flew. So I did think that was really cool. All right, MTA2, S4B202, SA202. Let's save that. Smithsonian has a great exhibit. Yeah, we did get to go to both Smithsonian Air and Spaces while we were in DC. The main one is out at Dulles Airport, or in that area. Is it the Udvar-Hazy Center? I'm pretty sure it's called the Udvar-Hazy Center. I'd have to check and make sure. I'm like 90% sure that's what it's called. So they have that one, and then they also have the air and space section that's in DC itself, like there at the National Mall. And it was pretty cool. It was more artifact driven, but I did think the Udvar-Hazy Center, where you can actually see the Space Shuttle Discovery, and like there's SR-71 there. There's the Boeing 707, although at the time it was the 307 that is in that picture where they did the famous aileron roll in that big ass plane. But I definitely got more out of that center. But Because like I said, the artifacts and all are cool, but you know, if I can look at some artifacts behind glass or walk around a space shuttle, you know, I'm taking the space shuttle. So let's look at our Apollo logs here. So Apollo 2, so just a little backstory. Since we are calling our lunar architecture Apollo, every time I do this and I use Apollo, we retire or we reserve Apollo 1's naming, you know, just to pay homage and to remember and respect the real life crew of Apollo 1. You know, their sacrifice, you know, really made Apollo what it was, you know, made it a lot safer. You know, the program as a whole was going down some bad paths with you know, not really keeping safety in mind and, you know, oversights and things of that nature. And you know, even though they died, you know, their sacrifice really you know, really advanced space flight and made the program a lot safer. So we always make sure to reserve the Apollo 1 name, and we don't fly that mission, you know, just out of respect to them. So our first mission was Apollo 2. It was basically the same setup as what we're looking at here. Saturn 1B with S4B upper stage, and then a lunar lander up top. Except it was just a boilerplate. It wasn't. It didn't have a probe core or anything, so it just impacted the MUN. Let's copy that over. So this is going to be Apollo 3, AS202, lunar lander Saturn B test flight 2, Saturn 1B, SA202, S4B202. We don't know the launch date yet. Or the landing date. Although we can leave the launch date, that's fine. Status, we can delete that. 2, my test article. MTA. Two has an onboard probe core and will attempt an uncrewed powered descent. I could not spell tonight. And landing on. Alright, so save that. Oh, and I also need to, before I forget it, we need to make a note in here. Paid 25,000 Kerbooks for the Saturn 1B variant, SA202, which sees the S4B upper stage get equipped with the correct J2 engine in place of the skipper. Okay. And now I'll show you how I actually pay these things. Turn that off. Only a shame they don't have a 747 there. Yeah, the Udvar-Hazy Center has a it's kind of odd. They've got like this section and you can actually go up like some stairs or an elevator and walk into it. They've got like the cockpit and the nose section from a 747 that they just like chopped off, and it's just like connected to a wall. So you do get to walk in and kind of look at the cockpit and all, but beyond that, it's like, all right, where's the rest of the plane? So let's see, we've got the 202 update. I was gonna decorate some of these tanks and just make sure to paint them, like paint 4 of them black and then 4 of them white, but we were gonna use flags, but I think for now we'll just leave it as is. So you light our 8 engines, detach from the pad. Aha. That's why we always check our staging. So the S4B decouples. We have our separator motors burn and light the J2. Pop the fairing. And then the lander's on its own. All right. Yeah, I don't know why they were like, yeah, let's just chop the nose off 747 and call it a day. It's like, can't we have the whole thing? But apparently not. All right, make sure nobody's in this thing. It is odd when you bring that in and it's not the root part. Like, it doesn't recognize. Let's save that. Go to something different and then come back. Yeah, see, then it sees it. But I think that's weird. Make sure our stickers are on both sides. Okay. Now see, it does look a little unrealistic now with the length of this lower stage, just because we have that fairing covering the J2 there. I think that should be fine. So let's prepare for launch here. Let me update this. Apollo 3. Turn that on. Yeah, we'll go ahead and save this. Oh, actually, we do need to go pay for the that new variant. And as long as nothing changes on the rocket, once we get to make SA203, we won't have to pay that again. It's just, since we're changing that upper stage engine, we'll have to pay for it. So if you Alt F12 in the cheats menu, you can add to or take away from funding. So it's 25,000 for the variant, so we'll just have to click this 25 times. All right, so now that's paid for. So let's see, when did that last mission land? Oh, well, actually, they're still up, aren't they? So what day did they launch? 1:30. Okay, we're plenty good on that. So one thing I was checking there, one of our rules is we have to fast forward at least a week between launches, and I just kind of gives the pad crew time to clean the pad up and get it turned around and everything, and all that good stuff. So let's go back in here to the VAB and get it ready to go. So we've got a whole list here of Apollo missions that we're wanting to accomplish. So Apollo 3, this is a Saturn 1B with a Munner lander, and we're actually going to send it out to the Mun. Apollo 4, it's going to be a Saturn 1B with a command module and CSM boilerplate, and we're just going to low Kerbin orbit with it. Apollo 5 will be a Saturn 1B with a CM CSM, and it will be crewed. And around that same time, Apollo 6 will be launched, and it will have the Munner lander on it, and so it will actually rendezvous with Apollo 5 in low Kerbin orbit, and we can attach the Munner lander to the CM. Apollo 7 will be our first Saturn V launch, and it will have CM, CSM, and the Munner lander, but it will be unmanned. So we'll have that one. Apollo 8 will be our first crewed Munner mission, and I think let's see, I had us having the ML on there. We might save that ML and just put ballast. Let's see. Ballast. Just to, like I said, just to balance it out, and Apollo 8 will do the flyby like real life Apollo 8 did. Apollo 9 is actually going to be a Saturn 1B mission, and it's going to send another lander out around the Mun, and it's just going to hang out there as kind of like an on-station lifeboat. So if something happens, like to the Kerbals, like if they land and so they hit the engine bell, something happens to the engine of the lander, or one of the legs break or something like that, we'll have that spare lander out there, and it can land close to where the crew is, and act as kind of a lifeboat. Apollo 10 will be the all-up dress rehearsal for 11. So it'll go out to the Mun, do all of the setup and everything. But then when it comes to the landing, the ML will detach and go down and land unmanned. And then of course Apollo 11 will be our first manned Munner landing. Let's go ahead and save this and roll it out to the launch pad. Alright, KSP finally decides to come to life here. Let's note down, let's see, year 3, day 152. And the time is, we'll be launching at 4, let's just say 4:37. That sounds good. So we'll go ahead and warp ahead just a little bit. Give ourselves about 30 seconds, just check everything. So light the engines, decouple from the pad, second stage ignition, fairings up, and then the lander. All right, T minus 5 seconds. Ignition and liftoff. Keep an eye on our thrust to weight here. See, since we overclocked those center, oh shoot, not the swivels, Reliant. Since we overclocked them, we got a pretty good thrust to weight here, whereas before we had like a 0.7. We were definitely anemic on that regard. Oh, and I forgot to pull up, like we did last time, the Apollo in real time. So we usually listen, at least we did with the first MUD mission. We listened into, pause that. That's quite loud. And throttle back here for max Q. Skip ahead. So this is a website that recorded, or I guess records, all of the Apollo 11 recordings, and you can listen back to all the different loops. So we usually just listen into some of the guys in mission control and whatnot. Yeah, we definitely could have. I was, let's bring that down a little. There we go. Yeah, I was trying to, I usually go a lot steeper on that, but I was trying to pull up, the website here, and in fact, let me share the link for this. I would definitely recommend checking out that website. It is very interesting, to say the least. Being able to listen into any of the control loops for the Apollo missions, which for right now they have 11, 13, and 17. But just being able to listen into them and, hear the engineers talking about, the different stuff they were looking at and things of that nature, it's quite interesting. I had planned on holding onto that fairing for a while, but yeah, this we might have to go back to the skipper engine because this upper stage engine is quite anemic. And actually, I guess we could keep this engine, but we will have to definitely overclock it, I do believe. Looks like we may end up having to shuffle around some of our planning here for our Apollo missions. I don't know that we're gonna save this one. Yeah, that J2 is just super anemic. We're definitely gonna have to overclock it. We had plenty of Delta V. Yeah, we may save it after all. Definitely wasn't how I planned on doing this mission. So yeah, we're definitely gonna have to overclock that J2. It's I was kind of afraid of that, but it seems to be well under where it should be. We are heading back up again, so that's a good sign. Go ahead and warp up to our apoapsis. So yeah, definitely not what our lander here was meant to. Although, we can go ahead and just send it out to the Mun, and I don't think we'll be able to propulsively land, but it will be a good test for the lander as a whole. All right, we'll go ahead and extend our solar panels here. So, there's a few things that are not exactly 100% accurate to Apollo. We don't have the fuel cells at this point, so it's just kind of we're using what we have. It's just it just keeps skipping. There we go. All right, it seems to be repeating itself for some reason. But yeah, like I said, check out the website there. It's super cool. Like I said, and I don't know, like if it was really funded or anything. Though, from what I understand, it was just a couple of friends that were like, "Hey, NASA had to record all this stuff. Let's build a database for you. Let's put it. I'll put it in one area." And like I said, it's super cool to listen in, as the missions happen. Yeah, take it. Yeah, we're gonna be. We can definitely get out to the moon. But yeah, we're gonna have to take it easy on our fuel margins here. I think they did the same for every Apollo lunar mission. Yeah, especially the early ones. They ended up cutting it pretty close. Apollo 11, which they've went back now, because now we have the luxury of time, something they didn't exactly have at that moment. They estimate there's probably about 30 seconds worth of fuel left in the lower stage, but at the time, they estimated they only had about 7 seconds worth of fuel left. And so I'm actually named after Neil Armstrong. My first name's Neil, and so he's always been, I guess my default favorite. But he is the only person to ever manually land a lunar lander. All the other missions, Apollo 12 through 17, every one of them was landed by the Apollo guidance computer, or not the Apollo flight computer, because there is a difference. All of the others were landed by the computer, but as you'll remember, the famous 1202 and 1201 alarms. And one reason that I was really inspired for us to do the simulation mode here, because just like in real life, Grumman, the company that built the lunar lander, they made simulators for it, and from the mid 60s, I think the first one was running like 63, 64, somewhere around in there. From the time they built those simulators until the end of Apollo 17, like until they were out of the limb, there were people in those simulators pretty much 24/7. And I wanted to include simulation mode because in real life, we see during the Apollo 11 mission, as they're making their descent, the flight computer is trying to figure everything out, and then they get the 1202 alarm first. And so you can literally hear Buzz if you listen along with the website there, because like I said, it's Apollo in real time. So you can either listen like to the whole mission whenever, but something I like to do is every summer when the mission's actually happening, you can listen along as it happened live. But you can hear them say like, "Hey, we're getting this alarm. Do we need to abort?" Because they were still in that odd regime of flight where, like, if anything happened, they had to abort to orbit. And so you can hear them like, "Hey, do we need to abort? Like, what is this?" Because, like, they couldn't recall what a 1202 alarm was. But there just so happened to be one of the engineers in the back of the room at Mission Control had, he had just been beating on the simulator, for years, and he had seen that in a simulation of a moon landing, and he recalled that 1202 was just the Apollo flight computer saying, there's too much going on right now. I can't keep up with what I'm being asked to do. And, because he remembered that, he was able to say, like, "Hey, the computer's just overloaded. You don't have to abort." But had he have not seen that, and come across it in simulations and known, and had looked it up and knew what to do, to fix that or what had caused it, without that, they would have had to abort into orbit. And so because they had those simulators running all the time, he was able to say, "Hey, I've seen that before. We're still good, flight." And so they were able to continue the mission. And then they got the 1201 alarm, and that is where my history knowledge kind of ends. I don't know the difference in 1201 and 1202, but it basically meant the same thing. And I think it might have just been maybe like an enhanced version of a 1202. Like, all right, I'm really not playing around now. Like, I am overloaded. But in any case, the 1201 alarm went off, and they're like, "All right, what about this one?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, same thing. You're still good to go." But due to the flight computer being overloaded and all of that, it was it was putting Apollo 11 down in a rocky patch. So they had to make a decision on the fly for Neil to take the controls and actually manually land the lunar lander. So he was the only person in history to manually land something on the moon. What's the line there, Z? It's I'm Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon. Neil before me. Yeah. Yep. It's in one of their books. It might be in Michael's book. I can't remember. I think it was in Michael's book. One of them talks about, because they were trying to decide, or really Neil was trying to decide what he should say, when he first stepped out of the lander. And supposedly, Michael Collins told him that, basically that he didn't bet Neil had the gall to step out onto the moon and yell, "Holy shit, what are those? Oh God, they got me!" and then cut his mic. I'm like, oh god, it sounds like something that would happen like today, like That's like Artemis 4. I can see something like that happening. Oh God, they got us, and then just cuts Mike. But yeah, that's which I guess I am a bit biased with Neil. But the whole reason, and this is something I talk about a lot. I've already talked about it probably 2 or 3 different episodes. The reason he was chosen to be the commander for Apollo 11 wasn't just, I'm the best test pilot in the world. All the astronauts, which they were all, even Neil, he was kind of quiet and reserved, but they're still test pilots, so pilots are always, kind of got that macho-ness to them, just to their character, that's just them. And that now obviously, depending on which one of you ask, they'll always say, oh, I was the best test pilot, things of that nature. Truthfully, it was kind of surmised, at least amongst them, that Gordo Cooper was probably, the best test pilot. But the reason that Neil was chosen was he had so many failures. I know that sounds stupid, but you think the lunar training vehicle, he had to punch out a bit, and he actually did get injured a little bit. But it killed like 3 or 4 test pilots. He survived that. He had a mishap with his X-15, with one of his X-15 missions. Gemini 8, that him and Scott, I don't think it was Carpenter. No, I don't think it's Scott Carpenter. Whoever was on him with Gemini 8, they went out of comms range from Mission Control, and Mission Control said, hey, if anything happens with the Aegina docking module, just separate from it. And so a thruster malfunction made them start spinning out of control, and so they detached from the Aegina target module. But the issue was actually a thruster on the Gemini capsule itself, and so the capsule just started spinning faster and faster. But even in a room of test pilots, Neil was the one that had like the most kind of laid back nature, the calmest head, and so he was able to find and remedy the problem. And Scott himself has said, like, if it had been anybody but Neil Armstrong on that flight, I would be dead, because there's different accounts of it, but I think in most accounts Scott either had passed out or was almost going to, just from the force of the capsule spinning so fast. And it did burn a lot of their fuel, but Neil was able to rein it in and figure out the problem and get that thruster shut off and save the mission. So when it came time to pick the commander for Apollo 11, they didn't look at, who's just the best pilot of all of them. They picked Neil because they said, well, he's actually had the most failures. And like I said, that sounds kind of stupid as like, the qualifying factors. But, he's been in so many of these adverse scenarios with missions, that we know he's the best trained and, the best well-tempered, I guess you could, not tempered, but like his temperament, I guess you could say, he's the calmest under pressure, so we know if anything happens, he'll be able to come up with a solution. And, we saw that in the mission, the flight computer was overloaded, and so he's the only person in history to manually land a spacecraft on another celestial body. So he was quite the guy. I don't know, what is that from, Z? I feel like I've heard it before, but I can't place it. We will go ahead and point retrograde here. See if we can't deorbit ourselves. There we go. And we've got all of about 100 meters a second left. So let's warp in here. For full comm exchange. Yeah, I'm sure that went over well. Yeah, the ISS, you know, it's a really cool design, and I really like the space station design overall. But we could have had space station freedom. I think I would have much preferred space station freedom to the ISS, but that may just be me. Get ourselves pointed. Well, we at least kind of look like we know what we're doing. There you go. And get that screenshot. All right. Let's go ahead, warp in a little bit closer here. I guess just for shits and gigs, we can go ahead and burn that last 100 meters a second worth of Delta V out. I guess just for a few pictures, we can turn it like that. See, it would have been nice if we could have test landed this one, but you know, being as it was get this out here and make it another Munner impactor, or you know, completely lose the mission. You know, we did get some good data from this, you know, get to test it out and all. As we carpet bomb the surface of the Mun. All right, back to Space Center. So let's swap over here to the mission log. All right, status. Partial success. J2 engine needs overclocking. MTA2. I guess I should have made new line for that. MTA2. Nope, not all caps. Impacted. Mun. Performed. Nominally. Alright. So, we can Go ahead and save this and swap back over here. No, actually, let's see. Yeah, I can update the Apollo specific one later. I'm gonna turn that off. So yeah, that was Apollo 3. So we'll definitely have to make sure to overclock the S4B engine. And yeah, the skipper did good, and it was let's see, it was about 1.2 times the thrust that the J2 is making. So we'll have to keep that in mind. Probably have to run about I don't know, maybe 220%. We'll just have to play around with it, because even at 200% of what it burns now, because its current's like 240 kilonewtons of thrust. So even if we up that to 480, that gets us closer to the like 540 or whatever it is of the skipper, and it seemed pretty well balanced. We could always give it a little more thrust, but I think giving it similar performance to that skipper will probably have us right there. But yeah, for the time being, that J2 is pretty underpowered. But it is cool that whoever found that with the Cal controller, being able to overclock engines, it's pretty neat. Comes in handy, because we've already overclocked the S1B lower stage. So, and I used to be against overclocking engines, because I'm like, all right, if it's not powerful enough, you need to run whatever engines are powerful enough, but to get it to look right and everything, I'm okay with that now. So we need to rename this. Oh. Wrong keyboard. It's one thing I'm gonna have to get used to with a dual stream setup like this. So this was Space Station Endurance, and we'll still just leave it called Endurance, since it's this technically is a piece of Endurance. So I'm okay with that. We'll go ahead and transmit our science here. So yeah, next time we have a cargo module come up, we'll have our engineer get out and take that plate off and actually replace it with one of the regular size docking ports. So we'll get that updated. I guess we could probably bring some more truss pieces up and then just build it off, because it's always hard to line up. But if you build stuff in orbit, with the Kerbal engineer getting out, then it I don't know, I guess like auto aligns it or something. Oh. And let me swap us back over here to mission control. Give me just a moment. I lost connection. So I am trying out this evening. There we go. So I am trying out for the first time. Actually, I just set it up this evening. A dual computer streaming setup. So I've got my main gaming computer that I'm running KSP on, and then I've got I've got a separate computer that's handling it's handling OBS and Twitch chat and all of our different logs and stuff like that that we have to open, so that the gaming PC, all it has to do is just KSP. I know we just lost connection there, and that's the reason I don't have a webcam on today. Is now I'll have to use, at least for now, the webcam in this laptop that I'm using as the streaming rig. I'm eventually going to get, a better webcam, and I had a better one, for the gaming setup, but I haven't been able to move it over to the streaming setup. So just for that fact, I didn't have it set up, and I wanted to go ahead and get another stream out there. So once we get that updated, we'll be good to go. I did think alternatively, because it's kind of a roundabout way of how I'm doing the dual PC setup. It's really interesting stuff once you get into it. I'm actually using OBS mapped to an IP address to send the stream from the gaming PC to the streaming PC. And so technically you are running OBS with the gaming PC, but all it's doing is just sending its signal to that IP address for the streaming PC, and then it brings it into OBS, and then also outputs it from OBS, and then all the overlays, all the documents we have to read, all that good stuff is then handled by the streaming rig. So pretty cool setup. I just I've heard about it before, and I had looked into it one time, but then I was like, I think we'll wait on it. But it seemed like the right time to set it up, and like I said, I had that computer laying around, and we'll try it out. And like I said, it's pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, thanks, Z. Like I said, I'm trying a few new things out, so it's going pretty well. Let's see, which of these would be the best to go ahead and unlock. Yeah, we get a better probe core out of that one, but otherwise, I think we might just save up and get a 300 level. But yeah, like I said, I've streamed in the past before. It was always like a one PC setup, and I've had good luck out of that. And it's not like KSP is the most demanding. I am running like 16 gigs of RAM with the gaming setup, so it's not like KSP's a huge burden. If we play other games and stuff, I could definitely see it coming in handy. And as you know, if you've ever played KSP for more than about 3 hours, it can definitely hog through some RAM. You have to, I always recommend people, especially if you're just starting out, restart KSP at least every 3 hours. Sometimes you can do it every 2 hours, if need be. And I've went as long as like 12 hours before without a restart, but it definitely helps. All right, let's fast forward just a little bit, and see if we can get anything else here on the book. 32 is a must and 64 is good. Yeah, and you know, I'm wanting to build a gaming setup eventually. And I've got some specs in mind for it. But for the time being, it's pretty good. But yeah, KSP, and it doesn't start out too bad. First couple hours, but then you start getting in 4, 5, 6 hours, and it starts. Not only does it eat up a lot of RAM, it also, like, I don't know, I've noticed it, like, myself. I've noticed, like, watching EJ, watching like Rocket Guy. I've seen it with him a time or two. Like, any KSP streamer, after a couple hours, like, if you don't restart, even if you got, a monster computer, if you don't give it a restart every 4 or 5 hours, like, KSP can start acting kind of weird. Like, I've seen instances where you have, like, a perfectly working rocket. We saw this in, I think, episode 2 of this series. No, I don't think it's 2. It may have been like 3 or 4. I know in one of the earlier episodes, we had a rocket design that I build. It was the Atlas Centaur. Pretty much every playthrough of KSP, I build that same rocket, and we had already flown it a few times and it had worked fine. And then all of a sudden we had like 3 launch failures in a row. Just flip on ascent, or had some staging issues. One of the times, one of the fairing pieces came back and actually destroyed the lower stage. And we were just having all these odd, like, arrow issues, it seemed like. And I gave KSP a restart, and it's like, oh yeah, we're fine. Rocket flies fine again. And I was like, oh, okay then. So it can definitely get, which I'm, like I said, I am an aerospace engineer, by trade, but I actually do programming at work. I do a lot of software programming. So it is interesting to see issues like that. And the original developers of KSP, said that was like the whole reason they wanted to make a KSP2 way back in the day, like 2015. Was the original team said, hey, we know some of the things, how we program them, stuff we messed up on, or we know of some ways to make it more efficient, make it run better, and clean up some of that stuff. So that was originally the idea for KSP2. The original dev team said, hey, we know where there's some inefficiencies and some things we can change, and then it will run like a top. And then Take-Two came in and bought it, and then the whole BS with, like, when they were hiring developers for KSP2, like, they wouldn't, like, during the hiring process, they never said, like, hey, you're interviewing to program KSP2. Like, they kept it so under wraps, they wouldn't even tell, like, the people applying what kind of game they were applying to work on, and all kind of BS like that. So then the people you had on the programming team didn't care about KSP. Like, I think it said like 90% of them had never played it, or had, and just like, yeah, I don't care about that. And, it's not really my thing. And so you had kind of the dichotomy there of, you know, the modding community for KSP, you know, and this is people doing free labor basically, you know, because all the mods, you know, you can download on CCAN for free, which there are some that, you know, people have like paid stuff, but you know, for the most part, most mods are free, and you know, you have people putting in thousands of hours of work into whatever their little niche thing is. You know, hey, I want to build, well, like Blue Dog Design Bureau. You know, he really leaned into like Gemini architecture. You know, a lot of it was like, you know, Titan 1s, Titan 2s, Titan 3 parts, manned orbiting laboratory, you know, things of that nature. And, you know, see, you know, it was a real passion project for a lot of people, you know, to say, hey, I made this mod, you know, and it puts this stuff into the game that I really like to see, you know, and that I'm a big fan of. And then the dichotomy of it, you know, you have the actual people working on KSP2, and they don't give a shit about KSP. They're like, yeah, it's just a paycheck. And then, you know, they run out of money, the project gets shut down, and, you know, from what I've heard, some outside sources have looked at the KSP2 dev code, because basically the KSP2 devs were just given, from what I've heard, just like bits and pieces of KSP1's original code. So they weren't even given like the whole code to work off of. And like, you know, I can say personally as a programmer, like, even if a program is whole, looking at somebody else's program, like just picking it up and reading it, it's going to take you a few minutes to kind of figure out, you know, what's going on, what the structure of their data is, you know, and how they're handling certain things. You can't just, you know, it's not like the Hacker Man movie, you know, you just look at it and immediately, you know, go to type it on your keyboard and you know, can hack into it or whatever. Like, you know, it takes a while to, you know, it's just like handwriting. You know, if you look at somebody's notes they've written down, you know, everybody's handwriting's a little different. You're gonna have to, you know, maybe this person's writing in cursive, you know, and they make their R's a little weird, or, you know, their H's are super loopy, so they look like L's. Like, you're gonna have to figure out how to learn, you know, you're gonna have to learn and figure out, you know, how that person programs, how they write things, you know, what their kind of naming schema is. And so not only that, now you're also working off of partial data, and also this is not a passion project for the programmers working on it. It's just a paycheck. So of course it failed. Like, you know, they could have rounded up the top 10 or 20, you know, because that's another thing. They had 70 people on the team. They could have rounded up the top 10 or even top 20 KSP mod makers and said, all right, you know, here's KSP1, you know, here are the things that the original devs thought, you know, hey, we need to look at this again, we need to rewrite this section, we need to fix how this is handled, and just let them go to town. Like, you would have came in way under budget, and the game would have released in 2020 when it was supposed to. And you know, it would have been way better. But instead, you know, you've got 70 devs on a team, and like I said, at least 90% of them did not care about KSP. And then they wonder why it failed. Like, it was set up to fail. Yeah. And, you know, it's and I'm no game developer. I've made a few mods for a couple games and stuff like that, especially some racing games. I've worked on a few little bitty projects here and there. So I can't speak to the whole project like that. I can't speak from my programming experience. With big projects, you're gonna have a lot of overhang, and you're gonna run into a lot of struggles. But when you consider that KSP1 was written by like 3 guys, and really one guy did most of the work, and then at his work, because originally Squad was like they were like a travel agency or some shit like that, and like one of their projects or something fell through, and so everybody was just kind of sitting around like with not a lot to do. And I can't remember his name. The original guy that made KSP, like, yeah, he had been working on it just as kind of like time killer, and it started kind of picking up speed. And so he asked a couple of his coworkers, like, hey, if y'all aren't doing anything, like, I'm working on this cute little space game, like, y'all can hop in if you want to. And so like they went from a literal like advertise, it was either advertising or travel. I think it was advertising company. They literally went from doing advertisements to just a handful of people making KSP. And you're telling me that 70 professional developers couldn't do what a couple people sitting around did for fun? Like, the whole, oh, we're out of electric charge. That's not great. Definitely gonna have to, oh, I guess once we lost the I guess that makes sense. Once we lost the truss, we actually lost a lot of those batteries that was on there. Actually, I guess technically we need to face retro. That way the radiators are at least mostly behind our solar panels here. Let's fast forward a little bit. Make sure to recharge those batteries. It's definitely never a good thing to run out of electric charge. Yeah, it went from, like I said, a couple people that were like, hey, we're really passionate about this game. It's really cool. Making what you see now versus, a group of 70. And, that's kind of like the whole SLS thing. Like, you're telling me KSP2, which was supposed to release like early to mid 2020. Like, you're telling me the state that it's in today, in 2024, it's got like 20% of the functionality that they had claimed it would have on like release date in 2020, and like it's still broken and doesn't work. Like, and I tried to play around with it some, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. The one thing I could not get over playing KSP2 was the jet engines, like the afterburning jet engines. They had the modes backwards. So when the aircraft was just flying around normally, the jet engine, or the afterburning jet engine, looked like like the animation was set up as if it was an afterburner. But then once you actually lit the afterburners, then it went into normal mode. And they never did fix that. And every time I would see it, I would like something would short out in my arrow brain, and I would be like, "It's okay. They're gonna fix it. They're gonna fix it," and they never did. I was like there toward the end, I was like, surely they've got to fix it, like, right? Like they'll fix it. They did not. That's more shuttle parts. I think we'll go ahead and get this this field science. We are gonna wait until we get these wheels before we actually start requiring that we go pick up the capsules and whatnot. But this will give us a good start. Let's go ahead and unlock that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and purchase all those parts. Yeah, I think that will probably be close to doing it for us this evening. I'm getting pretty tired. I had planned on staying up for the Polaris Dawn mission for the second day in a row, and then it got scrubbed again. So all in due time. I think the next launch attempt is Thursday night and the Friday morning at 3:30. So hopefully they get it off. It was scrubbed this time because of recovery conditions. And oddly enough, I think it was because of some conditions like in one of the Great Lakes. But apparently it's like whatever inclination they're going into. Like if they had to do a once around abort, like a once around orbit abort, then they would have to land in unfavorable conditions. So 2-day scrub, because they said it didn't look very good for tomorrow either. Yeah, and a helium leak. Yeah, that's not too big of a deal. Helium is always gonna leak. If they really look hard enough, all of them are gonna have a little leak. At least they didn't do like Boeing and say, "Hey, this leak's a lot bigger than we expected it to be. Yeah, we'll go ahead and launch anyway." Like, if you understand how much it's leaking, yeah, all right, as long as it's within tolerance, go ahead. But Boeing was like, "Hey, this is out of tolerance. We're gonna go ahead anyway." It's like, what clown is running things over there? Let's check. I do believe all Kerbals, except for these, all other, not all capitals. Okay, so Jib, Gimby, Jack. We picked Jack because one of our other mission mode rules is let me get this typed first. Sorry, it's been a long day. I can't talk and type at the same time. The thought behind hiring crew is, let me turn off mission log and come back over here to chat where I can see it. So when we hire, that's interesting. It actually tells you what seat they're in. I've never noticed that before. Wait a minute, what? Oh, we have 11. I saw max, and I thought it was saying we were supposed to have 12 Kerbals. I was like, all right, where the hell's the 12th? But anyway, hiring Kerbals, with the in-game mechanic for, going in here to the astronaut complex, they get exponentially more and more expensive. And, it's not, how would you say it? I guess true to real life. If every time NASA or SpaceX or somebody hired a new engineer, if the price just got exponentially higher and higher, then it's kind of cost prohibitive for them to hire more engineers. So that's one of the rules, and we lifted that from EJ. So if you come in here in the cheat menu, you can go to Kerbals and then you can create your own Kerbal. Now they always have to start out level 0, and then everything else, we can change. And then for each Kerbal we hire, it's 100,000 Kerbucks. So we just come over here and take 100,000 Kerbucks away, and that kind of keeps it at a set price. Like I said, the first, I think, 5 or 6 Kerbals you hire, you're actually paying more than you would be. But sorry if my voice is kind of high pitched today. I've had some sinus issues going on. As I can tell myself, like my voice is like a lot higher pitched than normal. But so the first few you actually do pay more for to hire. But then in the long run it does save you money, because like I said, hiring people to work for your company doesn't really exponentially stack like that. So, and that was one of EJ's rules, so we, like I said, we lifted that. So 100,000 each time. But anyway, how we came about Jack was when we went create. So you can randomize the name up here, and they're all weird Kerbal names. Erdan, Digar, Sifai, Glimmin. They're all very Kerbal names. And so we were just clicking through here trying to come up with a good name, and all these weird Kerbal names, and then just Jack. And I'm like, you know what? Instead of picking, the normal Kerbal, weird name, insert weird name here, it was just Jack. So, I thought that was pretty funny. So yeah, we went with Jack. So let's see, Jeb, Gimme, Jack, Leading, and Shotgun at the space station. All other Kerbals are at the KSC. So we have 11 astronauts, and right now we only have the 1 tourist. I guess we can bring this down to its own line. So yeah, like I said, the next steps will be in next episode. Hopefully we can. Actually, let's go ahead. Yes, let me move y'all over so y'all can actually see what I'm talking about. Scroll up here. Here we go. Feature missions. Or I guess actually we should call this things to do. It's not necessarily a mission. So we got design, Apollo, CM, and CSM. set up AS-203 to carry CM and CSM to low carbon orbit. 3, well, if I could figure out how to use the caps lock, overclock the S4B upper stage on AS-203 and future S4 B's. Okay. How is that not already in my vocabulary? Add to personal dictionary. There we go. So we'll design the command module, command service module, set up AS-203 with that setup. Make sure to overclock the S4B, and then we need a Centaurus cargo resupply to Space Station Endurance. Bring a spare regular size docking port. Alright. And so you'll notice that the Centaurus, I did mention earlier, our Atlas Centaur. Something I did not, I guess, take into account or did not notice while we were making our cargo resupply module. It's similar to real life Cygnus. So the Cygnus spacecraft, it's like that, but it's a 1.25 meter, I guess, version of that, if you will. And so, I said, hey, I would like to name that after constellation, just like Cygnus is. And so I was like, all right. So we looked around and we were like, hey, we can go with Centaurus, because that's another constellation. We'll just go with that, and then it'll match. But I did not think about that we launch on an Atlas Centaur. So for our cargo resupplies, our rocket is an Atlas Centaur Centaurus. So that definitely wouldn't get confusing with ground crews or mission control or anything like that. So yeah, our Atlas Centaur Centaurus setup. It's quite interesting. And like I said, if I'd have recognized that, I would have been like, yeah, let's name it something different. But it didn't click until after the mission. I was like, wait, are those named the same thing? Oh, they pretty much are. So yeah, definitely some interesting naming schemes going on there. But yeah, thanks to everybody for joining today. Thanks Z for tuning in and talking with me. Glad to meet another aerospace engineer. Even if you are Astro, I won't hold it against you. But yeah, if you feel so inclined, just maybe drop me a follow there. That way you'll get notified when I'm on. I had been streaming most nights here for the past week or two, but with this Polaris Dawn mission, since it keeps getting pushed back and around and all that good stuff, it's kind of had my schedule all over the place. So yeah, we might dive in a little more tomorrow evening, but in any case, like I said, welcome, and nice to meet you. Yeah, we're Arrows and Astros. We're like siblings. We gotta fight for some reason. Yeah, I might need to sleep in tomorrow, being as the launch. Like I said, last I saw, I think they're targeting Friday morning at like 3:30. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that, and hopefully it doesn't get pushed again. Although I would have preferred that it actually be, not at 3 in the morning. But in any case, oh yeah, architects, they're terrible. Or business majors, that's where all the failed arrows went. Everybody that couldn't cut the mustard in aerospace just became business. And architects, that's just engineering without math. They're just drawing stuff for the fun of it. But yeah, like I said, might be on a couple hours tomorrow. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we will see you again next time. So have a good night and stay safe.